Hi, I'm Stephen Budden. Welcome to Rapture. Here I am to try to deliver a piece of what I am to you to help you heal and transform. And who do I think I am to help someone heal and transform? It's almost like I can't do otherwise. Since I broke my neck in 2008, that launched me on a healing journey. And then I started healing so profoundly that it overflowed and touched others. And it's been wild and harrowing and painful and frightening, and I had to unlearn everything I thought I knew, and that's a beautiful and sometimes dangerous thing. When I was a child, my mother healed herself of crippling arthritis. One of her relatives suggested this holistic radio show, and she started listening to that and trying alternative remedies. Because as you know, the Rockefeller medicine has a lot of challenges. And once you get into that system, it's kind of a downward spiral. So we need to find alternatives. And the parallel to that Rockefeller system is the psychiatric system with all of its accompanying pharmaceuticals. So much can be healed just through working through the issues in the self, finding the center, finding resilience, working through the past, resolving what is unresolved, closing unclosed loops. And I do this in groups, and I do this with individuals. It's the most beautiful work in the world. Now, I run a few companies through which we deliver this work. And it's very difficult to articulate the exact trajectory someone's going to take when they embark on this journey. We only know that when you start on it, you're feeling somewhat apathetic, disconnected, lonely, anxiety-ridden. There's some depression. Those are all symptoms and signs of unresolved prior childhood trauma. When I say childhood trauma, some people think I mean like you were tied in a basement and whipped for 10 years, and maybe some people were. Mostly it's this little thing where someone had said a harsh word and it impacted your ability to relate forever. You had a broken heart and that reminded you of the way your father treated you, etc., etc. So it's just this healing arc is the most profound thing that a human can do. This healing arc is life itself. We are designed to be broken and to heal. This process of breaking and healing, we can call it life through Joseph Campbell's work or any other Greek myth or any other myth of the world. This journey is epitomized through like external characters, and Rudolf Steiner said they represented actual beings at the astral realm that humans could perceive back in the day, and now it's more of a intellectual dance with that knowing. The point is, though, when you embark on the hero's journey, that is the journey of healing. Now, there are shortcuts. There are guides that come into the world, and you being the hero, they'll pull you out of like your stupor, your lethargy, your screen addiction, your whatever else addiction, and say, hey man, wake up. Or hey lady, wake up. And that's why I'm here now. That's why I come to this place. I sublimely dislove this digital realm in order to reach people that are watching this. Because most people are. And if they're not, they're more healed. So they're working through other subtle ramifications of their journey. You know, so it's like Neo coming into the Matrix to pull people out of the Matrix, or the ones that had gotten out pulling him out. This Gurdjieff in the early 20th century called this the work. Going from unconscious to conscious, from unrealized to realized. There's Jungian phraseology around this, you know, Scientology, phraseology, all kinds of systems that bring you from scattered and incoherent to a coherent being who is centered. When you're scattered, in every situation you show up as a different person. Boom, you're a different person. Boom, there's a thing I don't like. You're a different person. And then your reactions are automatic. Boom, I'm angry. Boom, I'm disappointed. So you can be pulled around like a rat in a maze by the media or external stimuli. And that's what we want to get you out of, so that you become more and more of a free and sovereign being, and so that I become more and more of a free and sovereign being, so that we show up as our essence in each situation And we can relate to someone more from that profound space where we're watching our internal triggers and we're not being lulled into these emotional reactions, living in response rather than reaction. This is what, if you ever look at a social media, like a feed or the comments, you'll just see reaction, 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 and then you'll see like a little bit of a conscious comment that has some intelligence to it, and then some will say that's BS, LOL, and then you have reaction. So how long can you stay out of reaction when you're in that mode? Well, it's designed to be bipolar in that mode of like the duality. This is right and this is wrong, this is right and this is wrong. And this life essence experience is different because there are infinite shades of subtle, beautiful gray that like flood the space. Gray is in the space between right and wrong. There is a field beyond right and wrong, as Rumi said, and I will meet you there. Right? And this is an invitation to that field, to tear down the barriers you built up against love, just to live fully. I mean, do you know how short and fleeting life really is? When you're old, do you think, oh, that was a long life? Or do you think, man, I wasted some time there. I didn't know the end, like this end would come this quickly. A lot of people's regrets are very predictable. And one of them is not having loved enough, spent enough time with family, having worked too much. It's never like, dang, I regretted being so alive. That can't be a thing. It's, by definition, the opposite of everyone's regret. So the way to kind of dash these regrets before they come is to become more and more alive. How do you measure aliveness? Well, there are consciousness scales. If you use like a pendulum, you can measure yourself on a scale. 0 to 1,000. You wouldn't be 0 because you'd be dead. You wouldn't necessarily be 1,000 because you probably wouldn't be on this earth. You'd be one of these light beings. Where are you in there? You're probably around there somewhere between 5 and 650. And there are people that read these too, and you can do your own. You can find someone, what's his name? T.C. Lethbridge did all kinds of studies in the beginning of the century where he used a pendulum to study all of these things about like old archaic technology, and he could find a Roman coin, like see who owned it, and he could find the bones of like a badger, a skull, and see if it was a female or a male. So there's these emanations. We have to become more and more aware that we're putting these things off when we're alive, and even long after we're alive, when we die. When I had an awakening experience on the beach, it was like, this shall not die. That's what I heard. I was like, what? I mean, I heard it, meaning I knew it. So I experienced a lot of the knowing that a lot of people only hear conceptually, and I was like, oh, it flooded through my body, and I was like, I didn't quite know what to make of that. I had lived on the fringes of it, like knowing it hypothetically, and then boom. So that's what really launched my healing journey. Fell back into relationship patterns that sucked, other disempowering patterns, and boom, the broken neck. So that's the theme here. If you're not listening to the whispers right now, are you listening? Then you'll get screams, you'll get louder and louder explosions, you'll get cacophonies of chaos. It'll be like a broken neck, God forbid, a broken bone, a broken car, a broken bank, whatever thing is most difficult for you to look away from. So consciously start to use the nurturance of universe as something positive and empowering rather than accidental happenstance and circumstance that comes and bowls you over. You see how I broke my neck in the Pacific Ocean becomes for me something empowering and beautiful and rhapsodic and poetic because I folded it into my myth. And that's what I do with every client too. And you can't just go to someone and say like, your thing wasn't that bad, man. Find the peace in it. You can say that, but it pisses people off. Like, no, you don't know what I went through. That's always the thing. Because there's no shortcut to transmuting that into the gold that it is and can be and will be. There's no shortcut. There's only this experience of realization. How I particularly like to guide that is by completing whatever is incomplete in the past. So-and-so, boom, did something harshly to you. You collapsed. you get out, but you're still kind of collapsed when someone else is harsh to you, your husband or your wife or your brother or your mother. So you have to come out of that by first going into it. Oh, what was it like when they said that? What was I really feeling? What was the whole constellation? And I particularly like to do this with body-based work. So then you touch into the solar plexus with your fingers, and there's this tingling pain in there, and you reach up a little bit under the rib cage, and the diaphragm is all contracted, and it feels like something's being penetrated, and then you notice your patterns about pushing things out. I'm always armored, and you might know that. However, once you feel it in your body, and then you're like, you let that go in there and you feel the softness. Now you can see there's like a sexual parallel to some of this languaging, because most people can never make love because they can't fully let someone in. Or they're in their head, they're not in their body. You remember the neck break of mine? That was like I was living in my head. I needed to come down into my body. What's the bridge? Boom. And the way I broke my neck was I slammed my head on the ocean floor and it cracked the neck. So that's what gives me some of those clues. If you broke your neck in another way, we might find other clues. And the body is just energy. That's it. I mean, it's bones and organs and sinew and cells, and it's energy. So that will get you further than what does this bone mean, and what does this toe mean, and what does this finger mean, and what does this heart mean. It's like if you can see the energy and where it's collapsed, uncollapse it and let the energy flow. It's like a mystical experience. Most clients that are women report back, especially with the Philomela work, the in-person work with the body touch, that, I was able to make love for the first time ever while being in my body. Ever. And I lived in the Bay Area, and there were very conscious people, and some of these were like polyamorous people, very open. None of those labels mean anything. You're shut down around that because of old trauma. I have been as well, and I have been open to that. And so this is a question of opening, tearing down the barriers you've built up against love. And I guarantee those barriers are in your body. Like if I touch the belly, you'll know right away where your barrier is. And some people carry it in the thighs because there's like a fight or flight thing. It could be anywhere. I've had people carry it in their shoulders or their chest. Like a lot of men are like this. I will not be defeated. But it's like a hollow inflation. It's not like building up core strength. So where do you fit on this? It would probably be helpful if I could somehow distill this into certain personality types like Jung did, and like the Enneagram and these other things. Those all overlap. Those are all fine. This is more of a fluid conversation with what it is for you to be human and for me to be human and for us to interact in certain ways and to find the core of your pattern. Because you could be a 9 and someone else could be a 9 in the Enneagram, and you could have completely different stories and even completely different solutions to your issues. Just similar tendencies, perhaps, which maybe arose out of completely different causes. So I don't go necessarily for those systems. They're easier to disseminate and they're less accurate. I like to go for the depth. So usually small groups, boom, 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 the constellation. I like to have 12 and we see what everyone's working on. And we start to, this pinball goes back and forth and starts to wake people up. And it's like popcorn. Psh, 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 and people start to wake up. And I can only hold space for this because I've been broken and healed, and because I had this awakening experience, and because when I was a child I was illuminated by my mother healing herself of crippling arthritis. I started to get into that story, and I got sidetracked because a relative showed her these natural healing remedies, and that just blew my mind. So this is why I'm here. I may or may not work with you. That's okay. The pharmaceutical system may crush us all. You know, that's the way it goes. Personally, I think it's kind of dying like a far too far too slow of a death. And that's okay too. It doesn't really matter because we healers and those of us working on these other levels are working on this stuff anyway. And it can even happen through these medicines too. So when you get your blow, when you receive your wound, it may be medicinal related. Like most people that tango or tangle with that level of artifice, that system, they go down a sort of rabbit hole they wind up much worse than before or deceased. Rest in peace. There's a great karma around that entity that will be resolved over time until we evolve beyond all of that stuff. So you probably know ancestors that like, oh, I had this little issue. I took the medicine for this. It made this other issue. I took that, then the downward spiral. Boom, what happened to them? They're a shell of themselves and they're gone now. We couldn't even relate to them. So this is the alternative to that. Giving the power to someone else whose systems we don't understand, whose systems don't even make any sense, and reclaiming that power to heal ourselves via systems that resonate with us and via systemless systems. And as I sometimes say, I'm a lineageless shaman because I practice a lot of the same things and I haven't had the luxury of like a shaman coming in and saying, or 10 years of that or whatever, being in a village with that. Though I resonate with that, sometimes I see things out in nature and I'm like, boom, I get a clear meaning, not necessarily a literal translation into English. However, this means this. And I like to encourage clients to open their wide eyes to this. And as we do this work and they start to heal, every cell of their body becomes a wide open eye. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that powerful? So I don't know if this is coming across, if you need to hear this, but you can and will be healed. There's a difference between a healing and a cure. I'm focused on healing, and often the cure comes in the wake of the healing. And sometimes the cure doesn't come, but the healing comes. So someone could pass away like, oh, I found peace with life. That's beautiful. Because you can't always uproot everything that someone's ever done. Sometimes there's karma involved and other pieces of the equation that we don't understand. That's okay, okay? I just want you to know that you are loved by this guidance in this universe. We live in the universe that we create. So if you're creating a safe and loving universe, that's what you get. What you're putting out is what you get. I'm not saying you're going to ameliorate all suffering, poverty, and war by rosy glasses. You probably know what I'm saying. So our task is to keep elevating our consciousness to meet this gorgeous world. And so that we can be in love with it and each other and whoever's in front of us and this flower. So we tenderly are caretakers of those things for the future duration of time. And there's no coercion. There's no like forcing us to save the climate while, billionaires fly jets around or whatever hypocrisy we're talking about, religious or otherwise. There's only this authentic resonance with my feet are upon this earth. I and my feet are upon this earth. We are alive. We are powerful. There is light flowing through us. It is nourished. This earth is healing along with us. This earth is evolving along with us. Isn't that beautiful? So you're beautiful and powerful and brave. Take that as you can. Thank you for being here. Subscribe, and I will see you on the other side. Again, I'm Stephen Button. Thank you so much.